Mystery Writers of America presents Death Do Us Part, new stories about love, lust, and murder. Edited by Harlan Coben. Narrated by Alan Sklar, Karen White, and John Lee. Compilation copyright 2006 by Mystery Writers of America, Incorporated. Introduction copyright 2006 by Harlan Coben. This unabridged audiobook is published by arrangement with Mystery Writers of America, Incorporated, and the Howard Morhaime Literary Agency, was produced in the year 2008 by Tantor Media, Incorporated, which holds the copyright thereto. Introduction by Harlan Coben. I'm about to give away the ending. Crimes involving money don't interest me all that much. Oh, sure, as a red herring, they're pretty cool. Hey, now that I'm talking about this, maybe I'll do it in my next story just to fool you. But between us, it's just not what I'm into. I'm also not big on serial killers hacking people up for no reason, or conspiracies reaching the White House. There are people who write them well, but they don't really grab your heart, do they? You want something bigger, more complex, more driven. You want something that you can relate to. You want to read about the crime that you can almost see yourself committing. You want the story to explore a place as small as your fist and as vast as the universe. You want the story to trek through a land you know so well, and yet you'll never really understand. In short, you want the story set in the human heart. You want it personal. You want it to be about you and that special someone who is lying beside you. You love your partner, don't you? The way she sleeps peacefully, the way she tosses and turns, you could stare at her all night. Or maybe... Those are exactly the kinds of stories that have been assembled for your reading pleasure within the pages of this anthology. With the assistance of the Mystery Writers of America, 19 of today's top mystery authors, from established best-selling prose to new writers, have provided a collection of masterful mystery and suspense stories that all delve into the pulsating heart of relationships most foul, or worse, most splendid. They will, I think, give new meaning to the ultimate expression of "Till death do us part." Lest you think that mystery writers are all cynical curmudgeons, there are also several stories in here that celebrate the power of a loving relationship, as it pertains to crime and punishment, which is possible. But at least half of these stories end badly for one spouse or both. Come to think of it, according to statistics, that's about the percentage of marriages that end in real life, although usually by not so permanent means. So give your spouse or special other a big kiss and a hug before settling down to read these stories of domestic discord and marital malice. If you're single, then you don't have anything to worry about, unless this introduction has made you think about keeping a closer eye on your significant other. But that's another anthology altogether, as we present all new crimes of the heart in Death Do Us Part. Queenie by Ridley Pearson. I last saw her at breakfast. I work alone, in a room above the garage where a carpenter once told me the wood in the floor dated back pre-American Revolution. He could tell by the tightness of the grain and the history of the building. People know that stuff. A friend of mine makes guitars. He once saw an instrument at a trade show and knew it had been made out of the same piece of African mahogany that he'd built a guitar out of. He exchanged stories with the luthier responsible, and sure enough, he was right. Same wood. People know weird stuff. She'd mentioned it in passing when I was furiously cooking pancakes for one of our daughters and scrambling eggs for the other, cooking oatmeal for my wife and me. It's the one real spoil I give our daughters, any breakfast you want, anything you name. But I'm a stickler with them in every other way. We get along well because the boundaries are set. There's respect and love now, not testing and challenges. There's harmony, real harmony, and that's a cherished commodity in a family. Some guy turned around running at Queenie Park and caught up to me and ran with me. Seriously? Yeah. I think she told me to impress me, to remind me 9 years into our marriage that other men still look. It wasn't news to me. I knew they looked. But I sensed that this was one of those moments in a marriage when you don't want to say the stupid thing. But she wasn't asking me if I liked her haircut. "He say anything?" I asked. "Yeah, we talked. He asked questions like how often I run, stuff like that." "You talked to him?" I try not to make it sound accusatory, but my concern gets the better of me, and I blow it. "I can't talk to a guy?" She goes back to the dishes. I have a pancake I'm burning. I flip it, the color of shoe leather. She soaps up, runs the water a little louder than necessary. "It isn't like that," I say when I get a chance. "No, it isn't," she replies. "I mean, I'm not trying to tell you what you can and can't do, but it's a park, sweetie. You're a single woman, or at least a woman running alone, as far as he's concerned. You write too many of those books." She often blames my occupation on my tendency to see criminal behavior in everyone. She's right, of course. She knows she'll always win this one, and she does. A day passes. 2. It's breakfast again. It's crepes this time, and soft-boiled eggs for the youngest, a dish we call fishies in the brook. Why, I have no idea. Soft-boiled eggs on pieces of torn bread in a bowl. No brook, no fishies. But the girls love it and eat it down to a yellow smear on the walls of the bowl. He was there again, yesterday. He was running in my direction this time, caught up to me, and we ran together. I wish I could say something positive, but I can't. It's not that I care about the contact, the attention. Lord knows we can all use it. I get it, too, the flattering comments out on a book tour, the looks that go beyond a normal look. I don't act on them, and neither will she. That's not my worry at all. And if she does act on it, then that's dealt with then. But there's not a grain of jealousy spilling out of my shaker. This is straight concern, and I try to disguise it just enough so that I don't scare her. I'm good at scaring people. I've scared millions of readers for a very long time. I know the effect I can have, even when I don't mean to. I work hard not to scare my family, the kids especially. "It's a dark park, is all," I continue. "Long stretches in the woods, a long way from anywhere. Some guy pulls up to you out on Adams and runs along with you. You can at least scream. You scream in Queenie Park, and you'll be lucky to scare off a few birds." There's a hidden message here I'm not sure she gets. She stopped running for about 5 months, over a year ago now, because a car stalked her at 5 in the morning. It scared the pee out of her, literally. Slowed down and cruised alongside her before the sun was up, before the neighbors were up. When she hid behind a tree, the guy from the passenger window threw a can of soda at her and nearly hit her. We called the cops. I had the opening of Mystic River running through my head. She had laundry to do. The cop was pleasant and genuinely concerned. He took it around the block to the bread company, no doubt, and warmed up his cup and went on with his day. Bottom line, she stopped running. For 5 months. Now she's back at it, and this time the guy's on foot, and she doesn't see the parallels. If he was in a car running alongside of you, how would you feel? "It's not the same thing," she says. "What's his name?" "I don't know." "Where's he live?" "I don't know." "What's he drive?" She goes back to the dishes because she can hear me say, "It's the same thing." "How much does he know about you?" I ask. She shakes her head. I sense she's blown it out on the trail and knows it and doesn't have an answer. We've been watching a movie on PBS where the husband is a jealous, controlling freak. It's Trollope, and I use that as my reference. I'm not trying to be the guy in the movie. You know that, right? You want to run? Run. You want to talk? Talk. But maybe run with a friend so it's 2 against 1. Maybe choose a park that isn't so completely isolated and dark. Queenie Park is so wrong for a woman running alone. It's totally wrong. You can see that, right?" She shrugs. I know that shrug. I've come to hate that shrug. It's the blow-off shrug. We're done here, and it's on her terms, and that burns me. Another day or two. 3, maybe. She comes home that afternoon for lunch and lists the friends she ran with this morning. She doesn't do it in a way to sting me. She could, but she doesn't, and I love her for it. "Thanks," I say between bites. A couple days later it's the same. Laurel and Tracy, 4-mile loop at Queenie, Starbucks afterward, and a good talk. No mention of him. So today, when the call comes from school, my first reaction is to be pissed off. Our eldest, at all of 7, wasn't picked up. Missed the bus and wasn't picked up. Missed the bus because her mother told her not to take it. Makes sense because it's Thursday and that's ballet. I'm on the way there when the BlackBerry rings, and it's the private school. The youngest wasn't picked up. Now for the first time, the tick goes off in my brain. It's like a Tourette's misfire of a synapse, a burst of cursing aloud, followed by near blindness, and the inability to keep any one part of my body still. My 7-year-old is freaking out in the back seat. She's come out of the shoulder strap, and that really frosts me, because she's been doing this a lot lately, and it isn't safe, and she knows it. So I brake to a stop rather dangerously and get a bunch of car horns as my prize. "Put your strap back on, young lady." She's the nearest target, and she gets both barrels. My mind is racing now, and I'm wondering how much of this is me, the writer, and how much the husband. I can see it all in my mind's eye, and I erase it just as quickly. Do not go there, I tell myself. Steady keel. It has been 6 days. There's no such thing as adjustment. I jump every time the phone rings. I hear cars on the street, and am convinced she's pulling into the driveway. But her car is down with the police. They found it at Queenie Park, locked. Parked where she always parks, according to Laurel and Tracy. They never saw the guy. She'd never mentioned him to them. Embarrassed, maybe, or private, or a little bit of both. No evidence. Dogs, crime scene guys, nothing. The TV shows are all liars. When they're gone, there's nothing left. They're just gone. No hairs and fibers, not even a scent. Day 10. And a crew of 5 guys and 1 woman enters my office above the garage with a search warrant. Their arrival hits me like a fist in my chest. They confiscate my computer, all my bills, my BlackBerry, my car. I can't focus on the questions they fire at me, mainly because it's at me. The tone is adversarial. There's no mistaking it. Accusatory. I'm dumbfounded, and I'm pissed, the way they're dealing with my gear. I'm a freak about my gear. I treat it like most people treat their pets. They're dragging the server downstairs, wires trailing. I'm burning mad about everything. Just the thought that they would dare do this to me. I've written books about it. I've interviewed cops who are twice the cop of these guys about it. When all else fails, look pretty hard at the husband. And now it's me squarely in the sights. Day 10.5. My attorney, a woman with a brain bigger than Texas. I've known her 5 minutes, but she comes as the choice of my New York entertainment lawyer, also a woman, and so well connected that I know this is the right one even before we meet. But now we've met, and I even like her as well. There's 4 of us in the small room. The cop looks tired, but it feels like an act. I've written better characters than this guy will ever be. He's Kmart to my Bergdorf. But I don't. I won't challenge him. I won't out-cop him. I'm just alive enough somewhere in my brain to know not to do this. I tell myself to listen. Let the attorney do the talking. I say, "What's this all about?" wondering how my mouth can be so disconnected from my brain. The attorney's head swivels like an owl's. She could have me for breakfast right now. "When was the last time you visited Queenie Park?" the cop asks. I look to the attorney. She nods. With you guys, I answer. Before that, he says. The last time before that. I know where this is going. I'm mortified. I nod. Okay, I say. Okay, I see where this is going. Just answer the question, please. I lean in to my attorney. She smells nice. I whisper my explanation. She looks the cop in the eye and says, Next question. The cop's brow furrows. He's pissed. I don't blame him. My car must have been seen by someone. It was one morning, only one. I went out there to see if I could see the guy, see the car he climbed into, get something more on what she'd been telling me. Shouldn't have done it. Never saw a thing. But there it is, and I never mentioned it to them because I thought how stupid it sounded, how bad it sounded. And now it does. It goes unanswered. Can you tell me about magic movies? He asks. I feel my face go red. A home movie website. Voyeurs, all adult stuff, amateur videos, soft stuff for the most part, some of it graphic. They'll use it to imply a dissatisfaction with our sex life. Not true. They'll use it to suggest something troubled underneath the surface. Not true. They'll spin it into violent acts, and not one of them showed any such thing. They're building a case. It's their job. Kmart is having a sale, a banner day. Blue light special. Day 95. A jury of my peers. I don't think so. Their case is all oblong shapes made to fit a square box. The 12 morons in the real box are nodding and looking at me like I'm Manson. I'm still in grief, still can't sleep or wrap my mind around her doing the dishes and me cooking crepes and never bothering to get one stitch of factual information. My one act of covert surveillance meant to protect her is used against me, and used effectively. What's amazing are the looks from Laurel and Tracy. Their trust in me is gone. Shot. They've bought the story. And if they bought it, then what about the 12 morons? I tell my attorney it's a twofer. He got her, and he got me, all in the same act. He's out there ready to do it again. I'm going down as his surrogate. Mainly because I write this stuff. People know weird stuff. I'm one of the weirdest. Their case keeps heading back there, looping around. Who knows how to pull something like this off better than someone like me? If I decided to do this, would they expect to find much physical evidence? Of course not. Who better than me to make up a story about some guy? It's all me. But they don't know me. They convict. It's all me. Down for the count. Day 697. Cell Block C. My girls are 9 and 7. I've seen them once a month for the past 2 years. They look at me like they want to love me, but can't figure out how to do it. They found the body. 63 miles out of town, buried alongside an interstate. 2 others within 50 yards of it. There's semen in the remains, DNA. Day 874 and a hearing, and I'm given my walking papers. DNA wasn't mine. I try to tell them that. They say they're giving me my life back. Not true. 2 girls who don't want to be with me. They're living with Grandma. I'm told the transition will be difficult. No shit. I go home and sit down and write. It's all I know how to do. The next Saturday, I'm making crepes and fishies in the brook. They're looking at me with empty plates, empty eyes. I catch myself holding my breath. I laugh, but they just stare. I think I scare them. Safe Enough by Lee Child. Wolf was a city boy. From birth, his world had been iron and concrete. First 1 city block, then 2, then 4, then 8. Trees had been visible only from the roof of his building, far away across the East River, as remote as legends. Until he was 28 years old, the only mown grass he had ever seen was the outfield at Yankee Stadium. He was oblivious to the chlorine taste of city water, and to him the roar of traffic was the same thing as absolute tranquil silence. Now he lived in the country. Anyone else would have called it the suburbs, but there were broad spaces between dwellings, and no way of knowing what your neighbor was cooking other than getting invited to dinner. And there was insect life in the yards, and wild deer, and the possibility of mice in the basement, and drifts of leaves in the fall, and electricity came through wires slung on poles, and water came from wells. To Wolf, that was the country. That was the wild frontier. That was the end of a long and winding road. The road had started winding 23 years earlier in a Bronx public elementary school. Back in those rudimentary days, a boy was marked early. Hooligan, wastrel, artisan, genius. The label was slapped firmly in place, and it stuck forever. Wolf had been reasonably well behaved, and had managed shop and arithmetic pretty well, so he was stuck in the artisan category, and expected to grow up to be a plumber or an electrician or an air-conditioning guy. He was expected to find a sponsor in the appropriate local and get admitted to an apprenticeship and then work for 45 years, which is precisely how it turned out for Wolf. He went the electrician route and was 10 years into his allotted 45 when it happened. What happened was that the construction boom in the suburbs finally overwhelmed the indigenous supply of father and son electrical contractors. That was all they had up there. Small guys, family firms, one-truck operations, Mom doing the invoices. Same for the local roofers and plumbers and drywall people. Demand outran supply. But the developers had bucks to make and couldn't tolerate delay. So they swallowed their pride and sent flyers down to the city union halls and followed them with minivans, pick up at 7 in the morning, back in time for dinner. They found it easy to compete on wages. City budgets were stalled. Wolf was not the first to sign up, but he wasn't the last. Every morning at 7 o'clock he would climb into a Dodge Caravan full of stuff belonging to some suburban foreman's kids. A bunch of other city guys would climb in behind him. They would stay silent and morose through the 1-hour trip, but they watched out the windows with a degree of curiosity. Some of them were turned out early in a manicured town full of quarter-acre lots. Some of them stayed in until the trees thickened up and they hit the north of the county. Wolf was put to work on the last stop of the line. Anyone who had seen a little more geography than Wolf would have pegged the place correctly as mildly undulating terrain covered with 100-year-old second-growth forestation and a few glacial boulders, with some minor streams and some small ponds. Wolf thought it was the Rocky Mountains. To him it was unbelievably dramatic. Birds sang, and chipmunks darted, and there was gray lichen on the rocks, and tangled riots of vines everywhere. His work site was a stick-built wooden house going up on a 9-acre lot. Every conceivable thing was different from the city. There was raw mud under his feet. Power came in on a cable as thick as his wrist that was spliced off another looping between 2 tarred poles on the shoulder of the road. The new feed was terminated at a meter and a breaker box screwed to a ply-board that was set upright in the earth like a gravestone. It was a 200-amp supply. It ran underground in a gravelled trench the length of the future driveway, which was about as long as the Grand Concourse. Then it came out in the future basement through a patched wound in the concrete foundation. Then it was Wolf's to deal with. He worked alone most of the time. Drywall crews were scarce. Nobody was slated to show up until he was finished. Then they would blitz the sheetrock job and move on. So Wolf was a small cog in a big, dispersed machine. He was happy enough about that. It was easy work and pleasant. He liked the smell of the raw lumber. He liked the ease of drilling wooden studs with an auger instead of fighting through brick or concrete with a hammer. He liked the way he could stand up most of the time, instead of crawling. He liked the fresh cleanliness of the site, better than poking around in piles of old rat shit. He grew to like the area, too. Every day he brought a bag lunch from a deli at home. At first he ate in what was going to be the garage, sitting on a plank. Then he took to venturing out and sitting on a rock. Then he found a better rock near a stream. Then he found a place across the stream with two rocks, one like a table and the other like a chair. Then he found a woman. She was walking through the woods, fast. Vines whipped at her legs. He saw her, but she didn't see him. She was preoccupied, angry or upset. She looked like a spirit of the countryside, a goddess of the forest. She was tall. She was straight. She had untamed straw blonde hair. She wore no makeup. She had what magazines call bone structure. She had blue eyes and pale, delicate hands. Later, from the foreman, Wolf learned that the lot he was working on had been her land. She had sold 9 of 30 acres for development. Wolf also learned that her marriage was in trouble. Local scuttlebutt said that her husband was an asshole. He was a Wall Street guy who commuted on Metro North. Never home, and when he was, he gave her a hard time. Story was, he had tried to stop her from selling the 9 acres, but the land was hers. Story was, they fought all the time, in that tight-ass, half-concealed way that respectable people use. The husband had been heard to say, "I'll fucking kill you," to her. She was a little more buttoned up, but the story was, she had said it right back. Suburban gossip was amazingly extensive. Where Wolf was from, you didn't need gossip. You heard everything through the walls. They gave Wolf time and a half to work Saturdays and slipped him big bills to run phone lines and cable. Being a union man, he shouldn't have done it. But there were going to be modems and a media room and 5-bedroom phone extensions sharing 3 lines, plus fax, plus a DSL option. So he took the money and did the work. He saw the woman most days. She didn't see him. He learned her routine. She had a green Volvo wagon, and he would see it pass the bottom of the new driveway when she went to the store. One day he saw it go by, and he downed tools and walked through the woods and stepped over the property line onto her land. Walked where she had walked. The trees were dense, but after about 20 yards he came out on a broad lawn that led up to her house. The first time, he stopped there, right on the edge. The second time, he went a little farther. By the 5th time, he had been all over her property. He had explored everything. He had taken his shoes off and padded through her kitchen. She didn't lock her door. Nobody did in the suburbs. It was a badge of distinction. "We never lock our doors," they all said, with a little laugh. More fool them. Wolf finished the furnace line in the new basement and started on the first floor. Every day he took his lunch to the Twin Rocks. One time and a half Saturday he saw the woman and her husband together. They were on the lawn, fighting. Not physically, verbally. They were striding up and down the grass in the hot sunlight, and Wolf saw them between tree branches like they were on a stage under a flashing strobe light, like disco, fast, sequential poses of anger and hurt. The guy was an asshole for sure, completely unreasonable in Wolf's estimation. The more he railed, the lovelier the woman looked, like a martyr in a church window, wounded, vulnerable, noble. Then the asshole hit her. It was a kind of girly roundhouse slap.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?